One island, two superpowers, and a path that ends in mushroom clouds. A leading defense institute has issued a stark warning: a war between America and China over Taiwan could spiral into nuclear catastrophe. There are no guardrails, no agreed rules, no quiet phone line between Washington and Beijing. The Cold War had breaks, but this time, there are none. A military conflict between the United States and China over Taiwan could carry the risk of nuclear escalation. A leading defense think tank has warned that any such conflict could involve large-scale strikes on critical command, control, and communications systems, significantly raising the danger of rapid escalation. In a strategic assessment released ahead of this weekend's Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore, the London-based International Institute for Strategic Studies has warned that the world may be entering a new nuclear arms race, with the Asia-Pacific region emerging as its central arena.
Regional states and those with strategic interests are expanding their nuclear arsenals, while non-nuclear weapon states pursue long-range conventional strike capabilities. Both are challenging strategic stability.
China's Defense Ministry spokesperson Zhang Bin said the IISS report seemed quite inconsistent with the actual situation, adding that the Taiwan issue is China's internal affair and it does not allow any external interference. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said at a regular press conference that the US should handle Taiwan with the utmost caution.
Maintaining peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait requires a clear and unequivocal opposition to Taiwan independence. What the US should do is implement the important consensus reached at the meeting between the two heads of state and handle the Taiwan issue with utmost caution.
The 156-page IISS assessment examines evolving military doctrines across the region, as well as how a conflict over Taiwan might play out. While US and Chinese forces had different aims in a Taiwan scenario, the Chinese to keep the US and its allies at bay, while the US bolsters Taiwan's resilience, the two sides could be expected to launch vast operations across military domains.
Conflict with China would risk escalation potentially to a nuclear level, given the strategic importance of Taiwan to Beijing. There is currently little public evidence to suggest that both militaries understand the necessary guardrails to prevent, or rules of engagement that would restrict both sides from potentially targeting each other's key command, control, communications, computers, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. The prospect of nuclear escalation will thus continue to loom large in a major US-China conflict.
IISS Senior Fellow Daniel Salisbury noted that there were no nuclear-specific conversations at the latest Trump-Xi summit, and that the relationship between the two superpowers was quite difficult on the nuclear front. Salisbury said at a press conference that during the Cold War, the US had a long history of conversations with the Soviet Union about arms control and risk reduction measures. However, he said any conversation with China would be more complicated given how a lot of China's nuclear arsenal is concealed.
That culture of discussion is just not there at the moment, so there's far less to build on in that relationship.
Taiwan, along with the conflict in Iran and uncertainties about US commitments to the region, are expected to surface prominently at the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue. The informal conference runs from May 29th to 31st, drawing an eclectic mix of ministers, generals, intelligence chiefs, diplomats, analysts, and weapons makers. Following a summit between Chinese President Xi Jinping and US President Donald Trump earlier this month, concerns have grown in Taipei over Washington's commitment to Taiwan's defense. China has increased military activity around the island, which it claims as its own territory, while Taiwan rejects Beijing's sovereignty claims and remains on high alert. Trump's Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will be speaking at the Singapore conference, while China has yet to confirm that its Defense Minister Dong Jun will be attending. Both the US and Russian nuclear arsenals still dwarf China's stockpiles. US officials and arms control analysts say that China is expanding and improving its atomic weapons capabilities faster than any other nuclear power. A Pentagon report released in December said China was on track to field 1,000 warheads by 2030. The Federation of American Scientists estimates that Russia and the US field 4,400 and 3,700 active warheads, respectively, while China has 620. A major geopolitical twist is raising fresh questions about Donald Trump's strategy towards China. Just days after meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, the United States has paused a massive $14 billion weapons sale to Taiwan, officially to conserve munitions linked to tensions with Iran. But the timing is fueling speculation over whether Beijing's pressure on Taiwan is beginning to influence Washington's decisions. Did Trump bow down to China's pressure? The controversy erupted after acting United States Navy Secretary Hung Kao confirmed during a Senate hearing on Thursday that the Trump administration is temporarily halting the proposed arms transfer to Taiwan.
Right now, we're doing a pause in order to make sure we have the munitions we need for epic fury, which we have plenty. But we're just making sure we have everything, but then the foreign military sales will continue when the administration deems necessary.
The pause comes at a politically sensitive moment. Only days earlier, President Donald Trump held high-stakes talks with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, where the Taiwan issue reportedly became one of the most contentious subjects discussed. The proposed package approved by Congress in January would become the largest weapons sale ever to Taiwan if Trump ultimately signs off on it. The deal would surpass a previous record $11 billion package approved during Trump's presidency. But now Trump himself appears uncertain. Last week, speaking to Fox News, Trump said he may or may not approve the package. That hesitation has triggered growing debate in Washington and across Asia over whether the White House is using Taiwan as leverage in negotiations with China. Chinese President Xi Jinping reportedly warned Trump during their meeting that the Taiwan question is the most important issue in US-China relations and cautioned that mishandling it could lead to clashes and even conflicts. Trump later confirmed publicly that he discussed the Taiwan weapons package directly with Xi. He also suggested the deal could become a negotiating chip, a comment that alarmed analysts because Washington has historically avoided consulting Beijing on arms sales to Taiwan. On Friday, China's foreign ministry repeated that Beijing's opposition to American arms sales to Taiwan remains consistent, clear-cut, and resolute. Taiwanese officials, meanwhile, attempted to downplay the reports. Premier Cho Jung-tai said Taiwan would continue pursuing military purchases from the United States, while presidential spokesperson Karen Kuo stated authorities had received no official notice of changes to the agreement. Still, the reports have intensified concerns inside Taiwan over the reliability of future American military support. William Yang, senior analyst for Northeast Asia at the Crisis Group, warned.
The pause could increase anxiety within Taiwan and make it harder for Taipei to justify further defense spending.
The development also comes as the United States remains deeply focused on tensions with Iran. At the same time, Trump has hinted he may even speak directly with Taiwanese President William Lai Ching-te about the arms deal, a move that would break decades of diplomatic protocol and almost certainly provoke Beijing. Now, as questions grow over whether the pause is about military logistics, negotiations with China, or broader geopolitical calculations, critics and allies alike are watching closely to see whether Washington's support for Taiwan is beginning to shift under mounting pressure from Beijing.